It's a bit overcast right now. People were asking me when rainy season was going to come back to Leon, and we said, well, it's pretty early. We're not expecting it for several weeks yet, and we are still not quite ready. But we know it's been raining in Esteli, and we've got thunder going on. It was raining on the beach here. And it's quite overcast, so we may be getting rain sooner than we expected, and the birds are going crazy. On a recent trip to Matagalpa with my family, we already showed you a quick trip up to Hinotega, where we went to Freycinet. But on the way back from Freycinet, we stopped at Selva Negra, one of the most important, most popular, and most well-known resorts or tourist activities to do, especially for Nicaraguans, to do within their own country. But of course, as a foreign tourist, you may be interested in going as well. It's a beautiful location up in the mountains here in Matagalpa, but importantly, up until now, I've never been previously, and when I've asked people what it is that drew them there, very few people have been able to articulate anything to me as to what was actually special about it, and I think that's doing it a disservice because it's actually a really nice place. But until I actually went there with the family, I wasn't sure what we were getting into either, so we're going to take you guys along on a trip to Selva Negra and show you around a bit of the property so you get a feel for what it's actually like, and we'll talk about why you might want to head up there as well as we're going to show some of the mountainous area around as we get to it. So we're going to take you to Selva Negra in Matagalpa, Nicaragua, right after the bump. Selva Negra lies along the Matagalpa-Hinotega Road, one of my favorite, well, in reality, my favorite drive within the country. These two very important key mountain cities are connected by a really beautiful winding path through the mountains. Both cities are very high. These are the two highest altitude large cities in the country, and there's no dip in between them. You're simply winding through the mountains. And so I very gladly stuck our Insta360 X3 out the sunroof and got some beautiful footage of us driving through the mountains. If you want to see more of that footage, it's going to be available as a traditional driving show on Drive Warp, our channel for just showing drives in different parts of the world, and on Nicaragua 360, you'll be able to follow along with a full 360 driving show, all shot from the same footage, but 3 different presentations of it. So if it's something you're interested in, go check out those channels, subscribe there. Would love the support. Go look at our show notes in today's show, and the links to those shows and others. It's all in there. Anything you need is in the show notes. But this drive through the mountains is absolutely spectacular, and one of the reasons I want to have 360 shots of it is that there's no way to do justice to how beautiful this drive is. And we did a little bit of showing this drive in the well-known Hinotega episode that I did with my friend Camille 2 years ago. This is the place that we did an interview in the car and talked about how much we loved where we were. This is the drive we were on, going in the same direction from Hinotega to Matagalpa. So in what we're showing right now, this is the road heading back towards Matagalpa. So we're descending just slightly. The elevation difference is not dramatic, but Hinotega is the higher city. So we're actually coming out of Hinotega and coming down towards Selva Negra, which is pretty close to the city of Matagalpa and certainly within the departamento. There's a number of restaurants, hotels, resorts, and other activities along this road, but for the most part, this road, especially traditionally, has been very wild and just out in the mountainsides. It's starting to become a pretty popular place, and I have friends from Leon who go up there and perform for live music events and such. So it's starting to become its own kind of suburb of the two cities, which is a really interesting thing, but it's also very wild and free. So beautiful drive. If you have a chance to do it here in Nicaragua while you're visiting, absolutely recommended, but not during bad weather. It is a spot that can become a little bit congested, or certainly a little bit dangerous if you're in really heavy winds, really high rains. So just be aware of that. But under normal circumstances, it is an absolutely fantastic drive, but be prepared. Traffic is generally heavy and extremely slow because of the changes in tight turns and the changes in elevation and all the shipping that has to go between the two cities. You often have heavily laden trucks that are struggling to get around the current turns and get up the hills. So just leave yourself lots of time and enjoy the view. Don't be in a hurry. Coming down to Selva Negra, absolutely fantastic. We pull in, and you actually have to drive. I didn't film all of this. You have to drive a little bit into a very dirt path a ways off the main road. And I had no idea what to expect here. People talk about this place all the time. I've heard about it so many times, but every time I'm like, and why did you go? Every time I see a picture, it's like, there's a pond. You're like, okay, there's a pond. What does that mean? Like, there's ponds places. is that it? And it's just this very difficult thing to describe for some reason, but I think we're going to do a pretty good job describing it today. So you drive out into the woods and eventually come across what would remind me as a very South German themed camping area, if nothing else, right? So growing up in Western New York, and hopefully most of my audience will be able to picture what I'm talking about, we had a lot of traditional campgrounds that were not like KOA campgrounds, not like a big formal commercial thing where you go with your camp and get a campsite. No, I mean the ones like where people would do summer camp, where you had lodges for the campers and maybe 4 to 8 kids would sleep in one lodge, and then there'd be another one, and then there'd be cool paths going between them, and they may be nestled in the jungle, and you had a place where you could take kayaks out and go boating. And if you just need to picture something, go watch the movie Indian Summer, which, if you're a cinemaphile like I am, love that movie. Classic, a lot of great people, one of those traditional 1990 movies. All right, I digress. The important thing is, imagine a traditional American Boy Scout campground where you don't put up tents, but you have the cottages that you sleep in. And that's going to give you kind of a basic feel. And you have a pond, a rather large one. They call it a lake. It is certainly not a lake. It is just a pond, and it is man-made. They have a dam there that holds the water back. Several streams come into this pond and provide the source of water. And they have a path that goes around it, and they have built these cottages and a few small houses around that pond, and they're available for people to stay in. And of course, like any campground of that nature, there has to be a central food hall where you can go and eat, and there's no difference here. There's a quite nice restaurant that is pond front with loads of seating, huge capacity, and you can sit out there and sit along the waterfront and get food, which is a very popular thing to do. We saw very few people actually out walking around in the grounds. Most of the people were simply hanging out at the restaurant, which is a little bit pricey, but honestly, it was not that bad. And my daughter Luciana, who's the most critical of food in general, is the most likely to rate it and really rank it between different places. She felt that the overall dining experience at Selva Negra was possibly the best of the trip that we did between Matagalpa and Jinotega on this particular trip. So that's high praise indeed, because we went to a lot of really nice places. So we were happy with what they did there. I got a giant salad. It was a nice afternoon thing. It does not do evening dining, as far as I know. From what I can tell, it closes relatively early. The idea is that people will go for breakfast or for lunch. I don't really know the exact hours, and they can stay until the sun goes down. But then it's really expected that you'll go back into the city for dinner, or you'll be staying at what is basically the campgrounds. One really important caveat here. If you're in the restaurant, there's Wi-Fi, but if you get up to the cabins, I'm told there is not. And that's why we didn't stay there. We originally were going to, until we found out there was no Wi-Fi. And that was a little bit difficult because I need to be able to work, and sometimes it's just being ready for emergencies, and sometimes I actually have work to do. I can't do my uploads and stuff for the show. My daughters would be super bored being at a place with no internet for an entire day. That's pushing them a bit much. And my eldest is definitely not into nature, and anything being around bugs in a forest, potentially disastrous. So we decided we couldn't stay there, but it was really beautiful, and I can see why people find it to be a very romantic getaway, why you might want to spend a couple days there and just be out in nature and have a place to relax. It was very beautiful. But so we started off with just doing some walks around the property, including the long walk around the pond, which is very long, right? This is a long walk. It's probably going to take you 15, 20 minutes to go around the pond. It's very beautiful. There's some different structures around it. They have venues for putting on, for example, weddings. They have a full chapel up in the higher part in the forest. Absolutely gorgeous. There's all kinds of different housing. There's a gazebo. There's a lot of things sprinkled throughout the property. What I didn't see, I did not see a swimming pool. I did not see any real activities. They do have some playgrounds. They have some paths in the forest to go hiking. They recommend having guides. They do have their own farm, and they do some tours of some different things there in the property. And I should point out, Selva Negra means Black Forest. And for those who know your geography, the Black Forest is a region in the southwest of Germany. And everything here at Selva Negra is themed, because the owners are from Germany, and it is themed like you're in a fairy tale period of time in Germany's Black Forest, which is, of course, the location of many fairy tales. So this is an attempt to make an authentic recreation as best as possible by people truly from the region. And I think they do a good job. It feels quite a bit like you're in an old little German village. It definitely takes you back to, say, the 1940s, 1950s, with the style of the buildings and the age of the buildings and the amenities of the buildings, other than the Wi-Fi in the restaurant. It's all very 75 years ago in southwestern Germany. So very cute, very interesting for a lot of Nicaraguans. It's the only time they will ever come across that kind of stuff. And if you're living here in the country, it's a time for you to get a little bit of variety. The food is definitely Nicaraguan, so don't be surprised. You're not going to get, from what we saw, any German food or anything like that, although I think that would be a really cool additional thing. They've been there for a long time. I'm sure they've tried that and have determined that it just doesn't work financially. Maybe they do it from time to time. I'm sure they do special events up there when they're in the busy season and so forth, but they have a huge capacity, and really the idea is you're basically going to one of these traditional campground kind of places, and with just trails and beautiful spots, and taking your time. And really they make their money from the restaurant. Now, speaking of money, there's one thing that I do want to point out, because this is a little bit complex and confusing. There is an entry fee to get in. If you're staying in the hotel, you're good. You just pay your hotel and you can go in. But if you are not staying in the hotel, then you have a 300 cord, which is about $8 per head fee to come in. So if you're coming in a car like we were with 5 people, that was $40 to enter the property. However, it goes towards your expenses while you're there. So if you want to take a tour or go to the restaurant and eat, I believe the tours count. If you want to go to the restaurant and eat, you'll probably end up spending $8 per person anyway, or very close to it, and you can apply that to that. So unless you were trying to go and just walk around for free, that you won't be able to do. But as long as you want to go to the restaurant and do things, especially because, like I said, it's a little bit more expensive of a restaurant. Not crazy, but it's obviously not a bargain restaurant. This is kind of a resort experience. People come from all over the country to go to this. So you're going to pay a little bit extra. So paying $8 per person between drinks and food and desserts and appetizers and such, really not hard at all. But we didn't find the prices really to be that outrageous. They were just a little bit higher than other places. So I was actually impressed by how reasonable they kept the prices there. So we did this long walk around the pond. It was absolutely beautiful. We stopped at the restaurant, we ate and took our time. We were there for quite a long time. They have loads of geese and ducks and different birds, and there's lily pads all over the place and fish everywhere, and little streams coming through the hillsides, and gardens that they've put all over, and just all kinds of tiny structures and fountains and statuary and so forth. And so you can spend probably in excess of an hour, maybe even 2, depending on how leisurely you want to walk, just going through the grounds without going out into the forest to do some like serious hiking. Doing that, you're probably looking at being able to spend quite a bit of time if you're willing to go on like a 7-kilometer loop through the forest. That will use up an hour or 2 pretty easily. So those are things you could consider doing, but you got to leave yourself some time as well. So depending on what you want to do. But for those of us who really weren't looking for an outdoorsy experience, we were able to treat it much more like a resorty, gardeny kind of experience without going into the forest. So absolutely really cool. I don't think the price of admission is a problem at all. When we first were talking about it, people were saying it was $500, not $300. They weren't sure if it was per car, per head. They weren't sure if it applied to your food, didn't apply to your food. No one knew if it had Wi-Fi. It was and their website at this point has not been updated in 9 years. So there's no relevant information on there. Like, it's very difficult to figure out what exactly you're getting yourself into when you go to this place, because it's not super clear that it's a restaurant. It's not super clear that they have rooms. It's not super clear how you get in or what the price is. You just pull up and someone just comes up to your window and tells you. It's all very confusing from the outside, and their website doesn't help. And I ask people, and even people who go there kind of regularly are like, I can't really explain why you would go. And I'm like, that's weird. I got some good information, like, yeah, go to the restaurant, yeah, take some walk around. But you're like, walk around? Walk around what? And the pictures that you see from there are just always this one pond from the same direction. And I'm like, okay, there's a pond. Right, so I really wanted to bring you guys some information about it and an important review that we did actually enjoy it. And I think as a tourist in the country, if you're going to be in the area, it's worth checking out. It's a little bit different. It's a nice, relaxing thing in the afternoon, but be aware. If it's your first time to Nicaragua, you've only got a week or so, realistically, this is not really meant for you, and you'll probably find it disappointing because you're not looking for a variety away from Nicaraguan culture. You're not looking for a break from Nicaraguan culture. You're going to be looking for more of Nicaraguan culture. You're just on 1 week. But if you live here for an extended period of time, then something like this is a wonderful opportunity for some variety. It's a different climatic zone. It's a different look and feel. All the buildings are in a different style. The restaurant is a style that we really don't get around here. The pond views, super unique in the country. We're a small country without a lot of things like this. And if you want to stay in the cabins and do this rustic South German kind of experience, definitely pretty unique. So for the majority of expats who are taking the time to live in Nicaragua, whether it's just for 6 months or this is your permanent home, I think this makes for a nice getaway, but give it some time until you're looking for a little break from traditional Nicaragua. But if you're here simply as a tourist and it's your first or second time and you're still trying to go, see Matagalpa, you're still trying to go see Jinotega, you just drive past. Going to this or Freycinica that we showed the other day aren't things you're going to want to see on a tight itinerary. They're really for us, for those of us who are looking for that diversion from everyday life, and we're looking for just variety. And that's super important here. So that's much like the dinosaur park in Ninduri. If you live here, it's a fantastic way to spend an hour. But if you're on a tight schedule trying to see the sights of Nicaragua with your family, taking a break to see a dinosaur park that has nothing particularly Nicaraguan about it, probably not the thing to do. For example, when I lived on Crete, we did a lot of Cretan activities because it was unique that we lived on Crete. But after a while, living there, we did need some variety from just doing cultural things. And so we went to the dinosaur park there. Absolutely loved it. My kids rave about it 10 years later because it was just a really good dinosaur park. So sometimes you need these generic things. Just go to a zoo, go to a museum, go to a park, go to a whatever. And then this is one of those kinds of things. And you're visiting a farm, one of those kinds of things. There's nothing particularly Nicaraguan about it. So we had a really good day. We put in probably 3 hours, maybe a little bit more. My daughter Liesl did take the Olympus EPL9 out with the 17mm lens and did hundreds of photographs around as we walked, and she got flowers and birds and people and views in the mountains, and she really likes doing photography as well, and it's a lot of fun for me. It's something that we connect over, so that was a fun part of the day as well. Absolutely loads of opportunity for photography and filming and relaxing and food while we were out there. They were actually winding down by the time we left, which was probably a little after 4 o'clock. Remember, we had done a bit of driving in the morning, we had done food in the morning, we had done Freycinica in the morning, and then went to Selva Negra. So it was kind of a busy day for us by the time we actually packed up and left there. But I think we got a lot of good footage for this channel, way more than I can actually use, and I'm going to put as much as I can on the other channels as well. So I ask you to definitely go check those out. We'll continue showing some of the footage as I do some of our housekeeping, which includes, if you'd like to sponsor the show, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. If you'd like to help sponsor my producer, Marcela, who has stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, she has a GoFundMe that is listed in the show notes as well. If you need to contact me or find my social media, such as Nicagram, Nicaloro, anything like that, again, all in the show notes, including instructions on how you can send a video of yourself in that we can splice into the show and add you to the content. So if you have a question or comment that you want to do that way, we can actually make you a part of the show. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it when people do that. We had a couple people do that this week, and it really adds. I think it just helps the community connect with each other in so many ways. I have no idea what you guys look and sound like until you do that. It's really interesting for me because I talk to a lot of you every day or very commonly. We also have the WhatsApp group for expats. That's in there. And of course, if you have like regular comments or questions, just get down in the comment section, leave your comments there, say hello. Any engagement helps with the show. And of course, share on social media, tell someone you know about the show, send it to them and be like, hey, you gotta check this out. Maybe Nicaragua is the place for you. Maybe this is just information on relocating and residency and passports and what's going on in the world and all kinds of, we cover a lot of bases here. And today, yep, it's just a fun one of walking around a beautiful location and giving you something to do when you're visiting Matagalpa. And we are going to do a little bit more in Matagalpa coming up in a soon episode. I'm not sure how long. We're going to be visiting Cascada La Luna in Tumaladalia, Matagalpa, which was absolutely gorgeous, and we had some people were just really shocked by how beautiful that was. A bit of a drive, but interestingly, it is a drive out on Route 5, Nicaragua Route 5, which is the new highway heading out to Bilwi, or as many of my viewers think of it, Puerto Cabeza, the shallow water port in the northeast of the country that tends to ship smaller ships in from Miami. So we got to see a bit of that, a beautiful part of the country. There's just so much to see in Nicaragua, and so often we're showing you Leon, which is beautiful, but so different than what is out there in farther east, farther north in the country. It's great to be able to bring that stuff to you. So thank you so much to everyone for watching today's show. Remember to do all the things. Take a moment to engage with the show. It really does help make a difference. Let us know what you want to see, where you want me to go. I will be heading to the US in just 2 weeks to get my driver's license. Hopefully everything goes well there, and that's going to open up a world of filming that we have not had access to for a year and a half. For my regular viewers, this may seem crazy, but we went from my foot being broken in 2022 to my license expiring not that long after that. And I didn't have a car until recently. So the amount of time that I've had to actually get out and get footage around the country for you guys has been almost zero between not being able to walk. And that, so all of our really cool footage around the country has happened at different times where we managed to squeeze it in. And so we're looking forward to, once I get this license, we're going to bring you a lot of new footage from a lot of things, and I'm looking forward to that. So thanks for joining me. I will see all of you tomorrow.